Well, good afternoon and welcome to this fourth CAFII webinar of 2024 on a conversation with Atlantic Canada regulators, with 4 insurance regulators representing the 4 Atlantic Canada provinces. My name is Keith Martin, and I am the Executive Director of the Canadian Association of Financial Institutions and Insurance, or CAFII. On behalf of myself and the CAFII Board of Directors, we'd like to thank you for joining our webinar today. CAFII is a not-for-profit association dedicated to the development of an open and flexible insurance marketplace. Our 15 members include the insurance arms of Canada's major banks and credit unions, along with their insurer partners, which underwrite credit protection insurance and travel insurance. Members of the audience, if you have any questions that you would like to ask during the webinar to the panelists, please send them to me using the Zoom Q&A function, and as your host, I will pose them on your behalf. As I mentioned, we're fortunate today to have 4 senior insurance regulators with us. Allow me to introduce them. Jennifer Crummy holds a Master of Arts Economics from Memorial University of Newfoundland and Labrador. She has worked in the government of Newfoundland and Labrador public service since 1998. Jennifer is the Director of Consumer and Financial Services and is responsible for many programs. From a financial services regulation point of view, she serves as registrar for mortgage brokers and prepaid funeral services, as well as superintendent of insurance and real estate brokers and salespersons. Rahul Deshmukh has 17 years of experience working with the government of Nova Scotia, with a decade in pension regulations and 7 years in insurance. He is the Manager Financial Institutions, Office of the Superintendent of Insurance. Actively engaged in various CISRO committees, Rahul brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the field. Originally from India, Rahul moved to Canada 20 years ago to pursue an MBA at St. Mary's University. Jennifer Sutherland-Green joined the Financial and Consumer Services Commission, FCNB, in 2014 as Deputy Director and Senior Legal Counsel, Pensions. In July 2018, her role was expanded to include insurance. In June 2022, FCNB changed its structure, with pensions and insurance becoming separate divisions, and at that time, Jennifer became Director and Senior Legal Counsel, Insurance. Prior to joining FCNB, Jennifer practiced in a variety of roles in the labor and employment law sector. Jennifer obtained her BA honors in economics from Queen's University in 1994, her MA in economics from Université de Laval in 1996, her LLB from University of New Brunswick in 1999, and her LLM from Osgoode in 2011. Lauren Keefe-Hogan joined the government of Prince Edward Island's Financial and Consumer Services Division as Registry and Licensing Counsel in April 2022. Prior to her current position, Lauren worked for the University of Prince Edward Island, where she was responsible for overseeing the university's insurance portfolio, and commercial contracts. Lauren started her career practicing law in the areas of corporate, commercial, real estate, and civil litigation. She holds a BBA from University of Prince Edward Island, as well as a JD and MBA from the University of New Brunswick. And just before we get the webinar underway, I also want to extend a special welcome to a number of VIP guest attendees. In addition to many representatives from our 15 CAFII member companies and our 10 associates, which are key supplier companies to CAFII, we also have VIP attendees today from allied industry associations, such as the Canadian Life and Health Insurance Association, or CLHIA, and the Canadian Association of Direct Relationship Insurers, or CODRI, and as well from a number of insurance and financial services regulators and policymakers, including the following: the Insurance Council of British Columbia, the Government of Alberta, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario, or FSRA, Quebec's Autorité des marchés financiers, or the AMF, and the Financial and Consumer Services Commission of New Brunswick, or FCNB. Welcome to you all. And for starters, we're going to ask Jennifer Sutherland-Green to tell us about her priorities in New Brunswick.
Good afternoon. I'm having some issues with the presentation mode, so you're going to see the working copy of the slides. So for FCNB, our insurance priorities for the next couple of years are largely centered around our rural insurance 001. and which is Insurance Intermediaries Licensing and Obligations, as well as Rule Insurance 002, which is insurance fees, both of which came into effect on February 1st, 2023. These followed amendments to the Insurance Act, which gave FCMB rulemaking authority. The amendments to the Insurance Act were the first significant changes to our Insurance Act in over 30 years. Our Insurance Act itself was first introduced in 1968, and the modernization, phase one of the modernization of the Insurance Act allowed for significant updates to our Insurance Act, as well as the ability to for FCMB to draft its own rules. So Rule Insurance 001 updates the licensing requirements for existing individual licensees, outlines supervision requirements, and strengthens market conduct standards. It also introduces new licensing categories for insurance agencies, managing general agents, adjusting firms, and restricted insurance representatives. Prior to the amendments and the rule coming into effect, only individuals in the insurance industry were licensed in New Brunswick. So the new restricted insurance representative license is a limited insurance license, and it requires those who engage in incidental selling of insurance are knowledgeable and accountable, and that consumers are provided sufficient information to make an informed decision. So the introduction of both rules not only increased the number of licenses in New Brunswick, but it also expanded regulations to companies that were not previously overseen by FCNB. So that would be, for example, car dealerships, boat dealers, and that sort of thing. The implementation of Rule Insurance 001 and Rule Insurance 002 have required considerable resources, not only from our insurance division, but also from our IT and communications divisions. The transition of licensees from what they held prior to the new rule and their license type was particularly time consuming and will actually only be complete as we approach February 2025, because we gave ourselves a 2-year window to transition all the licensees. For the first year after the coming into effect of the new rules, we were primarily focused on educating people on the new requirements and transitioning the current licensees. And we have now moved to a new phase where we expect everyone to be aware of the rules, or we hope that everyone is aware of the rules, and that compliance measures will step in where necessary. So our focus really and our priorities for the next 2 to 3 years will be to continue implementing the new rule and using our compliance site visits and other reviews to ensure that the new measures and that we've been given or that are available under the rule will enhance consumer protection, and that the rule itself is being followed. So this could include things we might be looking for in compliance visits would be ensuring that the restricted insurance representatives are using the proper forms, that the intermediaries are licensed properly, that the designated representatives are using the duty to report functions properly, and that sort of thing. So as we approach the 2-year mark of the new rules coming, we still call them the new rules, even though they're not so new anymore, but as we approach the 2-year mark, we're embarking on a review of the rules to add clarity with, and anytime there's anything new, I think you can look back and see things that could have been maybe explained a bit differently or written a bit differently. So to add clarity where it's needed, but also to make any adjustments that have been identified over the past 2 years, almost 2 years experience with the new rules. So in addition to those, that's, as I say, that primarily is our focus over the next couple of years, because it's quite a change to what we're able to do and the groups that we're overseeing. So we really want to fully implement what we have been given with the two rules. So, but in addition to that, we'll be continuing some internal process improvement projects, and as well as some updates to our website. And we also have an ongoing project for a second phase of modernization amendments to the Insurance Act. So that's going to be our focus for the next couple of years.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. That was very interesting, and we certainly have been very engaged with FCNB in terms of the introduction of the Rule 001. And I think a lot of progress has been made in terms of industry adjusting to the new reality in New Brunswick. Over to you now, Rahul, to speak to us about your priorities in Nova Scotia.
Sure. Again, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to all attendees, as well as thanks to CAFII for involving us in this important webinar. Just going to share my screen. Uh, so again, I'm from Nova Scotia. I'm the manager of financial institutions. Some of the priorities, oops, I'm sorry. Important priorities our office is undertaking is the government's focus is healthcare, which is a top priority by our premier. And our office is involved because we are the insurance regulator to see how we can reduce the administrative burden on doctors and healthcare. So we are working strongly with the Office of the Regulatory Affairs on the insurance side. And this office is actively working to reduce the administrative burden. A lot of doctors, when there was a survey done, there were lot of doctors as well as health professionals mentioned that a lot of hours are, I won't say wasted, but uh, almost 400,000 hours we put in administrative work, which could be saved. So the goal is to reduce those 400,000 hours. One major initiative we have taken with the Office of the Regulatory Affairs is standardizing and digitizing insurance form, especially short-term disability. We've had reports that some doctors were filling up 2-3 forms for one patient. So we want to, the goal is to standardize and as well as make sure less time is on the doctor side is, allocated to fill those forms. So we have standardized the short-term disability forms. There are more forms to come, and this initiative has already saved around 2060 K hours for physicians as well as other healthcare professionals. We, as part of the physician burden file, we'll also be looking at eliminating the need for physician referrals, like, chiropractor, physiotherapist, and again, for certain paramedical services. So we'll be addressing some inefficiencies and, of course, try to free up healthcare resources so that doctors and healthcare professionals can concentrate more on the clients and the public instead of filling of forms. The other thing we are planning, or rather our office is planning, is trying to introduce CE. We are one of the very few provinces not having any continuing education for our licensed agents. So we'll be doing some kind of consultation, hopefully end of this year or maybe next year, do some research and see what would be best. Again, we look at industry standards as well as what other regulators are doing, and we'll come up with a plan to introduce CE. It will be self-monitored. Again, we are a very small, as with all smaller provinces, we have a very small staff, so it will be self-reporting, and we'll rely on the industry to monitor their agents, on C. Now, most insurers already have continuing education, so it won't be, as far as we have been told, that it won't be a big change for them to monitor, see if any kind of rules or regulations are put forward by us. Uh, uh, as some of our office was undergoing auto review. The consultation was done last year, and the recommendations have gone to the government. We are still waiting for a decision. Irrespective, whether there are any changes or not made, based on the timelines, there will be another review in 2025. So the goal will be to build on or make changes that are needed. But again, it would be, we're still waiting on a decision for that. So we, as a division, we also take consumer inquiries, basically complaints from the public regarding if they have any issues with their claims or insurance in general. So we most of the complaints which we get in our office are usually with claims, and we get around 20 to 25 complaints per week. Of those, 20% do become official complaints. So we do ask them to send in a complaint form. Then we try to be the neutral party and kind of be the middleman between the insurer and the complainant, and try to resolve them. There are, of course, as what is happening in the country, a lot of complaints are about premiums and how high the premiums are. There have been some complaints about solar panels. Again, there's some confusion because I believe has a program in place where people who have solar energy are reimbursed, while Nova Scotia it is not. They're usually given credits. So that's just wanted to give some insight on what kind of complaints we get. Our office is also involved in a lot of CCR and CISRO work. So we work on various committees, subcommittees like LLQP, as well as cybersecurity. So that is one part of the priority of our office. We also have pre-COVID, we used to do exams in person. Now all our exams and mostly LLQP exams is what we get the bulk of requests are completely online, and they're conducted by Durham College. We have, as per stats, last year there were around 1670 modules attempted, and a part of the problem of going online is some of the cheating cases have risen. So around, we usually get 2 to 3%, cheating cases being referred to our office from Durham College. Now, not all cheating cases are valid. If somebody is looking outside the screen, it gets flagged, and then once it's flagged, it comes to our office. We take a look, and and most of the cases are cleared. But again, especially since we have gone online, there has been an increase in cheating cases than what used to happen. Like in person, we never had any cheating cases. But right now, we don't have any plans to go in person, but it may change later. We also on the committee of the federal disaster insurance. So as part of other provinces as well as with federal, we are working with the federal government on this initiative. Other priorities, again, with such a small staff, we get quite a bit of licensing application, and they still have a turnaround of 10 business days or less. We also trying to work to modernize our website. It's a little outdated, but in a few months' time, we'll make sure all the updated information is on the website. So those were the priorities for Nova Scotia. And
thank you, Rahul.
Thank you.
I should mention that CAFII is monitoring carefully a Quebec bill, Bill 68, which is a bill to lower the administrative burden on physicians. It sounds like it's very aligned with some of your objectives.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Lauren, over to you for the priorities of Prince Edward Island.
Thank you, Keith. I don't have a presentation. I just am going to speak to you. So I just wanted to thank you and the CAFII organization for providing me with the opportunity to speak here today to the CAFII members and the other invited guests. Before I start into our priorities, I just wanted to give you a little insight into our office. We are Canada's smallest province, so we have a very small office. I did provide a picture in the background there, so you could get a view of PEI. If you've never been, please come. We like to promote our province, and we're very proud of it. So we are, the Office of the Superintendent of Insurance is in the Financial and Consumer Services Division within the Justice and Public Safety Department. We are a division that's responsible for regulating insurance, but as well as a number of other industries, including securities, real estate, debt collection, payday lending, trust and fiduciary companies, consumer and credit reporting, direct selling, and charitable lotteries. So we have quite a large mandate. We're also responsible for administering several registries, including the corporate registry, personal property security registry, lobbyist registry, and vital statistics registry. So that gives you a little insight into our office. And so being from a small office with a responsibility for many different mandates, one of our key priorities is efficient resource management to ensure effective regulatory oversight and consumer protection. So part of implementing this priority is the implementation of modernization and technology renewal. Our plan is to leverage technology to enhance our regulatory processes and reduce administrative burden on our stakeholders. Currently, our office is engaged in 3 multi-year technology capital projects in various stages of development and implementation. This includes our newest project to replace our current legacy licensing system that is extremely old. So our current system is largely paper-based, which means our staff spend a significant amount of time on manual processes, and this leads to delays in particularly the licensing process. So we're currently in the requirements gathering stages of this project, but we're very excited about the prospect of being able to provide our licensees with more efficient service, more timely communication, and greater access to licensing data. Additionally, as part of some of that technology renewal, we're trying to move forward in accepting electronic payments of insurance premium tax, which I think everyone would be very excited about, no longer sending checks. Part of that project for technology is also updating our website content across all of our many mandates, but also through insurance. So those are the key priorities that we're working on, mostly about technology.
Well, that's excellent, Lauren. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting. And good luck with the technology changes. They always are a little more challenging than we expect, but
Yes.
I'm sure it'll all work out in the end.
Thank you.
Jennifer Crummy, I'm going to pass it over to you now to finish off this segment of the webinar with the priorities for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate this opportunity, and I thank everyone for joining us today. So from Newfoundland and Labrador's perspective, similar to Lauren, we have a very small office with a very diverse mandate, very similar components in terms of regulating and being a registrar for a number of different areas, including payday lenders, high-cost lenders, mortgage brokers, real estate, securities, private investigators, direct sellers, and so on. As well, I'm also responsible for overseeing charitable lotteries. So there's quite a diverse mandate there. And of course, similar to my Atlantic colleagues, we do have a small but mighty team here that administers all of those things. So speaking directly from my Superintendent of Insurance hat, I've recently joined this particular office. We're with the Department of Digital Government and Service NL. And so happy to work with this great team and move some of our priorities forward. So one of the things that are kind of, I guess, pervasive across the board would be balancing the mandate between being a regulator of insurance in particular in this instance, and of course, having the responsibility for consumer protection. So that kind of, oversees all of our considerations. And similar to one of Rahul's comments as well, we do also receive complaints, and we do have a number of employees here that do receive and assess complaints. So that's an important function of what we do on a daily basis. One thing that's very, very important to us would be ensuring that we have a reasonable service standard for licensing and application processes. So for example, if one were to, we have an online process, if one were to submit their online application, we would hope to review that application and respond to the applicant in a very timely basis, either with their license or with recommendations to complete any fields that need to be completed or providing any additional information, that kind of thing. So we're very cognizant of providing that service to our clients, to the industry, to ensure that the licensing is done as efficiently and effectively as possible. To that end, we also are mindful of our legislation and our regulations, and it's something that we're always keeping in the back of our mind in terms of, we might have a little note to the side where as issues creep up or as something is noted to us, whether it is an emerging trend that might require some consideration from a legislative or regulatory point of view, or it could also be something, that's being, considered across the country, whether it's an outdated component, that kind of thing. So we're always keeping that, in the back of our mind, if you will. Sorry, there we go. As I mentioned, in terms of looking at trends across the country, so we also participate on the various federal provincial groups. We sit on CICERO and CCIR, as well as GISA. And we look at trends, we discuss, we share information, best practices. And of course, we're always considering areas where harmonization or some sort of a commonality could be appropriate within the broader context. And I know something that's pretty front and center for many people across this audience specifically would be the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, and of course labor mobility. So ensuring that agents, brokers, and adjusters and so on would have that ability to be licensed in the various jurisdictions where appropriate. Something, of course, that is kind of an emerging thing over the last little while, but climate change. And we're really seeing the impacts of climate change across this country and the globe, obviously. And so with that come extreme weather events and so on. And of course, temporary licensure is something that is top of mind, especially this season with forest fires and hurricanes, et cetera, et cetera. So temporary licensure is on our mind. One of the key things that is going on in Newfoundland and Labrador, it was announced in June of this year, so a couple of months ago, we are implementing a diagnostic treatment protocol regulations, which speak to early access to treatment for sprains and strains that were a result of an auto accident. So they're very, very similar to that which is in place in Nova Scotia and Alberta. We're currently working with a number of stakeholders and internally here to work for an implementation of December 2024. So that is something that is, very top of mind, and we're actively engaged on. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Keith.
Great, thank you very much, Jennifer. So that ends the first part of our webinar, and I really appreciate hearing from our 4 Atlantic Canada regulators on their priorities. Next, each of the panelists is going to share their thoughts on one of 4 key topics. So I'm going to start with Lauren Keefe-Hogan, who's going to speak about challenges in the insurance regulatory environment. Lauren?
Thanks, Keith. So I took the position of looking at this from Prince Edward Island perspective. So one of the key challenges or emerging issues that we're seeing in Prince Edward Island, which you're seeing across the country as well, is climate change. As a small, densely populated island, we're uniquely affected by climate change, including the increase in extreme weather, rising sea levels, coastal erosion, and also saltwater intrusion. And you may be aware that in the fall of 2022, PEI experienced a very significant weather event, Hurricane Fiona, which caused substantial damage to our province. And this fall, it's been predicted to have a higher than normal hurricane season in the North Atlantic. So it's something that's very concerning to us. As an insurance regulator, we're concerned with how climate change will affect the insurance industry in our province. And this would include the increasing frequency and severity of claims and how that will affect the financial stability of the insurance market, changing risk profiles, the availability of coverage for our consumers, the worry that high-risk areas insurers may limit coverage or withdraw from coverage markets. And so that might make it challenging for consumers to obtain coverage, and ensuring that consumers are receiving fair treatment during the claims handling process, providing timely and fair claims handling assessment. And also another area, and so this is relevant to one of our priorities, is keeping up with technology as a regulator, and I'm sure as an insurer as well. We're in the process of a modernization project, and we're anticipating challenges to that, and so ensuring that we have buy-in from users, so concerns about user resistance to change and adopting new systems. So we're hoping to address that by involving users and stakeholders early and providing training and communication to our new system. And then also data migration issues and security issues for data. Another another challenge that we experienced this year was the implementation of IFRS 17 and the implementation of the new OSFI forms. So the transition to IFRS 17 and the new OSFI forms do result in significant changes to accounting policies and systems and processes. So that impacts key financial metrics important in the prudential regulation. And so it's important for us as regulators to understand these changes and how they affect the financial health and our review of the financial health of insurers. Includes assessing how metrics align with the existing regulatory frameworks and capital requirements. And then, so from that perspective, we're trying to ensure that our staff are adequately trained and equipped to handle the complexities of the new IFRS standard. So this involves training and development to build expertise in the new reporting requirements, including yesterday, which I attended a workshop all day, so it was very fun. Also, another challenge is balancing the need for thorough oversight without overburdening the industry. So we as regulators need to ensure that compliance requirements are manageable while effectively addressing the risk and ensuring consumer protection. So those are some of the key challenges that I see right now.
Thank you, Lauren. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
CAFII, like PEI, is very small. We're only 3 employees in our association. So I'd be interested in learning from you how you manage such a large scope of issues with small staff. How do you because I mean there's some jurisdictions that would have hundreds of employees and they'd be struggling to deal with the range of issues that you just mentioned so effectively. So I'd be curious about any advice or any insights you have about that. It must be a challenge.
It definitely is a challenge as a small regulator. We have a pretty core team of senior regulators at our office that we speak frequently on our many mandates. So we try to maintain open lines of communication about the different mandates and how they intersect with each other. And we rely heavily on our collaboration with our other jurisdictions. I know many of the people probably on this call from the other jurisdictions. I speak to them frequently. We try to collaborate and cooperate with the other regulators on different initiatives. So I certainly frequently reach out to other regulators to try to harmonize my approach to some of the issues that we see.
Right, thank you, Lauren. That was very helpful. So I'm pleased now to ask Rahul Deshmukh from Nova Scotia to speak about the next topic, which is technology issues in the marketplace, including the development of AI. Rahul.
Sure. Thank you. Well, this topic is so big, like, we could spend a whole day, but we don't have a whole day. I'm just gonna share my screen. I just made some slides. The big elephant in the room is nowadays AI. I mean, not a day goes without some issue or another, and it is changing so much. 3-4 years back, we never heard of AI. Now every big company is scrambling to introduce some kind of AI. ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, these are some of the AI platforms most have been aware of or using as well. Just gonna go over, what few trends are happening in the insurance industry, and then I'll go over the issues. So AI is very much involved in the insurance sector. Of course, it's used to enhance customer service. It's always present 24/7, and it's making a lot of things efficient, like claims processing and making some as well as helping underwriting decisions. AI is of course enhancing customer service by leaps and bounds. Like I said, it's automating claims processing. It's also used for fraud detection, and as well as make personalized products for each customer. And a lot of insurers are using self-service platforms like chatbots to provide a very smooth customer experience. The other thing, technology trend which will come big time or has already come, is quantum computing, and this is it has the potential to solve very large complex problems very in a smaller time, and this is gonna I believe that's the coming years that will revolutionize the insurance industry. For example, it will optimize, investment portfolios and claims processing. It could also be used in fraud detection. Since quantum computing is a collective computing of many computers, there are some threats, and right now it's kind of said that within 5 years it could provide a threat for RSA, which is the encryption model for most transactions. So the other threat is also, of course, cybersecurity. Quantum computing could lead to major data breaches if not properly addressed. Some other innovations which is happening in the insurance sector is of the blockchain, which is for secure transactions. Internet of Things, which is bringing devices and cloud together, and as well as cloud platforms. So these technologies are addressing the major, or they are streamlining the major components of insurance, which is underwriting, risk management, and claims processing. There are a lot of custom apps out there by insurers. For example, there's a Lumino Health app from Sun Life, which is used for customer interaction. Some other insurers like Intact, they're using cloud platforms and IoT for claims and risk assessment. Manulife is using blockchain technology to streamline all its transactions. Aviva, Desjardins, again, they are using all these technologies to, modernize the process. Some of the current issues which technology, which we are, well, I guess the insurance sector is facing is data privacy and security. AI, of course, requires, that's a big concern. There is AI, but how is it protecting data? Is AI fair in its analysis? It's after all a machine. Whatever it churns out could be biased, but is it fair? Also, regulatory compliance, keeping up with the changing rules for AI and data protection is quite difficult. And so insurers have to follow both local laws like OSFI, as well as, their global laws as well, like global data handling. Are the decisions made by AI clear to the customers? That's one big issue. And also there is our customers, like, is the experience balance with data privacy? Also, what is the ethical use of AI and automation? It does raise ethical concerns because insurance need to create ethical guidelines for AI to prevent misuse. Cyber security, like I mentioned, it's a big risk because AI can be vulnerable, and insurers have to protect their AI systems from being, misled by hackers. There is also a shortage of talent. Like, AI is such a new technology, so yes, there is a big skills gap and a shortage of AI experts in the insurance sector. Also, it's not cheap, so it's a costly. AI is costly to implement, and some insurers are struggling whether it's a good investment or not. So these are some of the issues with AI specifically in the insurance sector. Some of the regulatory challenges, again, by using technologies, they have, when you're using AI, you have to ensure transparency, prevent bias, like I mentioned. There are a lot of emerging technologies coming up. So what are the risks coming out from these technologies? Currently, it's mandatory to have climate risk disclosures from all insurers, as well as, they have to address how sustainable it is while using this technology. Consumer protection, consumers have to be treated fairly while using any technology-driven products. And of course, big challenges for insurers is, or in the insurance industry, is to follow regulations. There are provincial regulations, federal regulations, and also global regulations. And there's always third-party risk because a lot of the software development or enhancement are given to third parties. So there has to be a balance between innovation and compliance with when we use new technology with regulatory standards. So basically, the insurance sector is going through a big digital transformation, and of course, adapting to regulatory challenges is the key to success. For regulators, it's also a big challenge because technology is improving at or changing at such a fast pace. It's hard to keep up. So, and again, there are big pluses for technology for leveraging technology and insurance to improve operation efficiency, but it has to balance with adapting to the regulatory challenges. So that's it on my side.
Thank you very much, Rahul. Very interesting. And we'll now turn to Jennifer Crummy from Newfoundland and Labrador to speak to us about important trends.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to all right, here we go. And so I'm going to speak to some important trends, and I think that you will see some common themes because some of these themes transcend, I guess, all the different components that we're speaking of today. So I think technology and the use of AI is pervasive in many, many things that we do, and Rahul certainly did a fantastic job in terms of talking about some of the implications for implementation, regulation, and oversight, all of the important pieces there. But again, is something that I think all of us from a regulator as well as industry point of view are grappling with in one way, shape, or form. I took some of these important trends, some of which would be very specific to the regulator side, some of which will be very specific to the industry side, and some will be common to both industry and regulator. So the next two would be more focused on from an industry point of view, and I think some of you have probably experienced some of this as well, is kind of a shift to consumer-centric modeling. And in particular, when it comes to life and health insurance providers, implementing, personalized healthcare considerations in developing some of those models, right? The other thing that we're seeing, in general across the board would be an interest in the client for self-service options, being able to go on, like Rahul mentioned about the chat bots and quickly, either asking a question about their policy or that kind of thing, going online, updating their policy online. So, that is certainly something, the on-demand sort of feature, 24/7 availability is certainly something that folks are seeing, I think, across the board. And as well as individualization. So whether it's, a policy that's individualized to your own needs from a P&C point of view, whether it's an individualized policy from a health or a life point of view. But I think there's an interest from the consumer side of it to have policies that speak to their specific needs and wants at that particular juncture in their life journey. I think both regulator as well as industry, both are, actively being nimble when it comes to evolving regulatory requirements. From a regulator side of things, being nimble from the point of view of identifying regulatory amendments, being nimble to implement those requirements and the oversight thereof. But as well, the trend is ensuring that the industry and all the participants on this call can speak to this as well, is having the need to be nimble to respond to those regulatory requirements. The impact of extreme weather events and climate adaptation is something that is throughout everything that we do on a daily basis, it seems these days. So I don't think I need to elaborate on that very much, but clearly it's an important trend that has an effect on many aspects of our lives. the environmental, social, governance policy considerations that are being embedded in requirements now, reporting requirements, and the way that businesses conduct themselves. So that's a very important thing in terms of a go forward, transparency and accountability, and what the consumer expects, what the regulator expects in terms of the environmental, social, and governance components of conducting the offerings. Embedded insurance is something that we're seeing a lot more, and of course you got to keep your eye on that from a licensing and a regulatory consideration side of things. Cyber is something I know has been spoken of here today as well, in terms of not just data protection, but the provision of cyber insurance specifically, and then global considerations for data security, data transfer, and all of the things that have been mentioned here today. But of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. The labor market is going to be a huge factor in terms of where we are and where we go, redefining the roles. As we pivot to those individualized policies and that kind of thing. Looking at aging workforce and recruiting new talent. The talent that we need to recruit, for example, there is an existing gap with respect to underwriting and actuarial. So just being mindful of the fact that there are certain pieces that are essential to the industry's functioning that will be impacted by the labor market for sure. And of course, ensuring that there is a diversity in the workforce that reflects our consumer base. I think that's something that everyone is mindful of. And I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly chat about the auto side of things, including the impact of auto theft. I know it's a hot topic in the last couple of years. The possibility for automated vehicle, connected vehicle down the track. Ride sharing has becoming more and more widespread. So thinking about how that fits into the environment globally. Looking at different wider distribution points for providing insurance products. Reinsurance, we're seeing an uptick in companies that are getting reinsured. And then short-term rentals, for example, Airbnbs and those types of scenarios to ensure that the owners of said properties are aware of the fact that they would want and need coverage to maintain those properties. So with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'll skim over some of what I was going to say and just try to hit the highlights, if that makes sense, Keith. Or
yes, I mean, do use up the whole 6 minutes.
Okay.
We're very interested to hear what you have to say on CICERO and CCIR, and if it takes a little bit over time, that's fine as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as I'm sure everyone here is aware, CCIR is the Canadian Council of Insurance Regulators. The mandate of CCIR is to facilitate and promote an efficient and effective insurance regulatory system in Canada to serve the public interest. So CCIR works together to develop solutions to common regulatory issues. The Canadian Insurance Services Regulatory Organization, CICERO, is a form of Canadian regulatory authorities dedicated to consistent qualifications and conduct of business standards for insurance intermediaries. So CICERO also collaborates on initiatives that support a consistent approach to consumer protection through the regulation of insurance intermediaries. CICERO has completed significant cooperative national products, including the development of ongoing and the modernization of the LLQP, and in conjunction with CCIR has developed the Canadian Insurance Regulatory's Disciplinary Actions CERTA database. Both CCIR and CICERO are very active and have a number of committees on the go at any one time. Current and recent CCIR committees include climate change, which we've certainly heard about this afternoon, climate change, natural catastrophes, and consumer awareness working group, cooperative supervision oversight committee, fair treatment of customers working group, fintech working group, ombuds services oversight standing committee, segregated funds committee. So FCMB, we have had staff on all of these committees. Current and recent CICERO committees include Consumer Awareness Working Group, CCAR, CICERO Fair Treatment of Customers Working Group, Cybersecurity, which we've also heard about this afternoon, Working Group, FinTech Working Group, General Insurance Licensing Qualification Review, or the Gilker Committee, Information Sharing Working Groups, the Life Insurance Replacement Declaration, the LIRD Working Group. And again, FCMB has been very active on these committees, and someone from our office, Robert Picard, is currently chairing the LIRD Working Group with CICERO. We also sometimes work with other national regulatory organizations. So for example, I was one of the CCIR representatives on the CAPSA's guideline for capital accumulation plans. And CAPSA, as many of you I'm sure know, is the Canadian Association of Pension Regulators. So the new guideline was released earlier this week and reflects regulators' views on the responsibilities of CAP sponsors, administrators, and service providers in the current marketplace. And it had representation from CCIR and as well as the Canadian Securities Administrators of the CSA. So some recent or notable CCIR publications include the Report on Fair Treatment of Customers by Canadian Insurers, which was released in June 2024. The report gives insight into governance and business culture in relation to the fair treatment of customer reviews. In April 2023, CCIR released the Climate Change, National Catastrophes, Consumer Awareness Position Paper, which focuses on actions insurers can take to ensure consumers receive and understand the information, advice, and incentives necessary to make informed decisions. And after the release of the position paper, CCIR and CICERO partnered to engage the property and casualty insurance sector on addressing recommendations from the 2023 position paper. The Insurance Bureau of Canada and the Insurance Brokers of Canada have also established a working group to look at ways to enhance existing practices related to national awareness of national catastrophes. In July of 2024, so just very recently, CCIR and CICERO released a joint statement indicating that they were encouraged to see the insurers and intermediaries' response to the position paper that was released earlier. So as you can see, CCIR and CICERO often collaborate on projects, and there are a few others here that in May 2023, they released the CCIR CICERO position on the discussion paper on upfront compensation and segregated funds, and this followed the discussion paper on the same topic that they released in September 2022. Also, they worked together on incentive management under the Fair Treatment of Customers. In September 2023, CICERO released a publication on cybersecurity readiness, which is to be used as the idea was for it to be used as a reference tool. So as you can see, the topics that the two organizations look at is quite varied, and some are entirely related to the business of insurance and technical in nature, and others provide specific guidance on how the insurance sector can respond to challenges facing all industries. So those would be more in the category of the cybersecurity and the climate change and natural catastrophes. So as a smaller integrated regulator, which is what FCMB is, we strive to contribute in a meaningful way to all the national organizations that we belong to, including CCIR and CICERO. One aspect of our participation that is often different as a smaller regulator is that working with CCIR or CICERO, it's that from our office anyway, it's often the same 2 or 3 or 4 people who are on all the different committees. Whereas and in some cases, from talking to Lauren in PI, it sounds like she's often the person on all the committees. So it's not even just 2 or 3 people, it's one person. But while from a larger regulator, it's not uncommon to have someone on the committee who specializes either maybe not full-time, but a good portion of their time on the particular topic. So they're very immersed in that topic and they're very knowledgeable in that topic, which can be a little bit daunting in a way for someone who's maybe doing a little bit of everything. But it does provide a great benefit to us as smaller regulators who participate on the committees, because the knowledge of that specialist is shared. So I find that to be a very helpful aspect of the work that we do I'm on quite a few CCIR and CICERO committees, and prior to that on a number of CAPSA committees, and when I was in the pensions realm. And it's very helpful when you have people who are having discussions that's the main thing that they work on all the time, whereas we tend to do a little bit of everything. Conversely, though, I think that staff from smaller regulators often bring something to the table as well, even if they're not immersed just in that particular topic. if they're on different committees and in different groups, they might, be aware of work that is being done in those other committees. And they can, more than once, I've said, well, I think, I'm on this other group and we're working on something similar. It's not quite the same, but something similar. Maybe we can look at some of what they're doing, and it might give us, a bit of a head start. So I think the work of CCIR and CICERO benefits from having staff from both smaller and larger regulators involved in their projects. And I certainly believe that we benefit from being involved in the larger discussions that take place to achieve the aims of both CCIR and CICERO.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. And I want to thank all 4 panelists who've provided us with so many insights and so many interesting observations. I know I speak on behalf of all the attendees when I say that it's been just a wonderful panel, and we really appreciate your expertise. I want to thank those who attended today, and keep an eye open for our next webinar on October 10th with 3 lawyers who will speak to us about open banking in Canada. Thank you, Jennifer, Rahul, and Lauren again, and to everyone on this webinar. I wish you a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.